Hey everybody, so here it is for final assembly, just fit the bodywork on. I'll just run through everything. This is a rebuild, not a restoration, but a rebuild, so there is a difference. What I'll do is just quickly run through everything. I won't be too long, but this car was sat for quite a few years, not being used, so it's been stripped down to the chassis and rebuilt. So we'll start at this end. So if it's original and if it's undamaged and original, then it's rebuilt and reused. So these are original, they've all been stripped down, refitted new nuts and bolts. Washers here, all new copper washers, new brake fluid, obviously racing brake fluid, and then on the suspension all new nuts and bolts, powder coat. I never reuse suspension nuts and bolts, and these are NAS bolts, so these are aerospace quality. All the suspension's been re-powder coated. Ignore that, it's just where I've been bleeding the brakes. Again, all new copper washers down here, you can see. Everything's been freed off nicely. That moves really, really nicely. Brakes have been bled. They're ready to go. Nice brake pressure there. Same on this side, all cable tied in. Any bearings in these fittings here that needed doing have been done. So again, they're all check tested. If there's any wear, they're replaced. All nicely cleaned up. So it's not to show standard, it's to race standard. This just needs to be fitted on. I've just got some work to do there. These spacers here were worn out, so they've been replaced. This bit here, for example, that had a crack in it, so that had to be replaced, and that's about a £90 part there. This has all been repacked and rebuilt with the spring-loaded washers. Lovely colour this, I'm really pleased with the colour. Original radiators, they've been pressure tested, cleaned, reused. I'll come back to the cockpit, but all standard there. The dashboard itself is actually, you can't really see much of it, but the dashboard was in a bad way, so I've replaced that, and there's a new battery in there as well. The fire extinguisher lines have been replaced, and this will all be cable tied up and all neatly. That throttle cable is new, so that's all working well. It's the original belt. It does have a new fuel tank in there. So that's fully FIA approved. So there's 5 years, and then you can ask for an extension on it. And that's a Kevlar tank. That's probably about 2,000 quid's worth of tank in there, maybe a bit more. I won't grovel underneath, but all of the fixings for the wood floor have all been replaced and new stainless steel ones put in, so they won't go rusty this time. This has been shop blasted and powder coated. The fuel lines were split, and I don't take any chances with fuel lines. This will be replaced as well. That's just a breather, so brand new fuel lines. The heat shield, the old heat shield has been stripped off. So engine wise, let's zoom out a bit. Engine wise, new air filter, pulleys, belts, spark plugs, just try and remember everything, oil filter. And the chassis was taken down to nothing and built back up again, although this is the original paintwork, which I think is a really, really nice colour, especially with the black. Original oil lines, I think that one's new. Okay, and then the gearbox, sorry I should say, so can't really see it, but all of these bolts here all the way around are all new studs. Some of these fittings in here are new. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's probably about 10 of those all the way around, and they add up. That fitting there is new. That's about a £10 fitting there. I just got the lid off the oil sump. There's obviously new oil in there. And then same again on the back. All the suspensions have been powder coated. All the bearings have been repacked. These are new K nuts. I generally use new nuts on things like this. Gearbox has been rebuilt, had about £1,500 worth of parts. Silly things like these nuts here are the proper nuts. They're about £10 each, as you can see. Now you can take it the next level on from here, which is to show level, but this is using the original components. They're stripped, checked and tested. So you can see here, and then there's some sort of flat washers in there. They've all been re-greased. Fitted a new rain light, which is the new type that flashes. These were cracked here, so a couple of cracks in, so both these bits are new and that bit's new as well. And these bits add up a lot. So this stuff here, the old heat shield was quite rough actually, so that's all been replaced with new, and again surprisingly expensive. These faces here were all cleaned off, polished, new gaskets in here, new inlet gaskets on the other side, new heat shield material to protect it from the heat, obviously. And all in all, looking really good. You could take it to the next level. I think to get it to this level, one thing and another in parts has probably been about £8,000. If you wanted it to show level, then it would be more. This is just a use that to pull some stuff through. Oh, sorry, in here also, holding up the tank left and right is some foam which had perished, which allows the tank to move around. That's all been replaced. So there's one on the left, one on the right, one underneath, and one on the other side. But I'm very pleased with it. It's taken a long time, as they always do. So what I'm going to do now, I'll put the bodywork back on. Hasn't actually got any water in it, and fill that up. I pressure tested all the radiators anyway. And then in here, some of these fixings have come off, so there, I put new ones on there. They're good fun. I'll show you those. Some of these were bent, so that's a new one. So basically, if anything's been damaged, it's been replaced. But things like that, you know, a lot of cars that I see, these are all seized. And as you can see, that moves really nicely, like new. And silly things like there's a reverse cable here, this one here, that's new. Although the old one looked all right, it was actually seized. And then all these bearings have been checked, tested. So again, on older cars, we haven't done the setup on this, but just to show you, everything's moving really nicely. That's been left loose deliberately because obviously they've got to do the setup. All the fittings in here, all the screws and what have you, are all new stainless steel. They didn't really use stainless steel on race cars because they were stripped down so often. but I think now they're not being driven by aspiring Formula One drivers. So, and I had all the engine and everything cleaned. It wasn't that dirty, but I had it all cleaned. It all takes months, you know, if you want to do it properly. Some of these bearings inside here, the big ones, they've been changed. And they're quite expensive, those bearings. So again, mostly, if I see a rusty nut or a rusty washer, I replace it. You know, that's okay, that's quite acceptable. Polish these up a little bit, couldn't help myself, look quite nice. And if somebody wants to take the time and trouble, you can make that really nice. All these linkages have all been greased and made sure they're moving really nicely. All these, before I connected them up, they're moving really well. Cable tied up. So tomorrow, fit the bodywork, make sure everything's okay, make sure nothing's leaking. Then it goes off to the customer, who then will start the shakedown process, taking it around the track, building it up, checking for loose nuts and bolts, which inevitably, having done everything up, is now trying to undo itself, and that's what the racing car's all about. And I'll do some pictures with the bodywork on, and I think it's going to be really great. Okay, that's it for now. Next picture, looking like a race car.